The year is 1492. Christopher Columbus and his ships lay becalmed in the Sargasso Sea. Suddenly, they witness something terrifying. Did the ship's log actually record the first sighting of a UFO in the New World? Flight 19 was on a routine flight with an experienced crew. How could they have vanished without a trace? Even today, this area has strange occurrences that are constantly being reported by professional pilots and seamen. Are these mysterious events the work of visitors from outer space? What is the answer to the perplexing riddle of the area now called the Bermuda Triangle? We'll find out in this chapter of the UFO Diaries.
In recent years, many people have come to dismiss the so-called mystery of the Bermuda Triangle in the same way they would a superstition or a fairy tale. But given the growing body of evidence that many things are happening there that are beyond our understanding, there seems to be a pressing need to examine the legends and the facts about the Bermuda Triangle.
To many, the Bermuda Triangle is nothing more than the nickname given to an area of the mid-Atlantic, roughly cornered by Florida, Puerto Rico, and the island of Bermuda.
But is it anything more? Is it in some way different from any other part of our planet's oceans? According to many who study the mysteries of the Bermuda Triangle, since 1945 alone, there have been over 1,000 vanishings of everything from huge naval vessels to private boats, from small planes to commercial airliners. Of course, not only the craft disappear forever, but all the people on board them as well.
I think the most spectacular mystery about the Devil's Triangle is probably one of the ones that's more played down than any other, and that's the disappearance of the Navy ship USS Cyclops. This was a 500-foot, 19,000-ton coaling ship, and this took place during World War I. Back then, they had coal ships instead of tankers because most of the ships operated on coal. Well, this ship had over 300 officers and men on it, put to sea from Barbados in the British West Indies, bound for Norfolk, Virginia. It was never seen again. The ship and the 300 officers and men disappeared without a trace.
Some claim that violent weather in the region is responsible, that sudden squalls had downed aircraft and sailing ships alike, sending them in moments to the bottom of the sea. Others, however, suggest a far more sinister force is at work.
Over the years, I have checked and rechecked almost every theory as to why so many ships, aircraft, have vanished in the Bermuda Triangle without a trace.
From the old Spanish Admiralty records that Columbus wrote, we learned that he was the first to record the strange and frightening images in the night sky over what we now call the Sargasso Sea. We can only guess at the nameless dread that must have filled the hearts of those intrepid seamen lost in a strange and frightening world. But from his log and reports, we know that the Columbus expedition encountered the same mysterious phenomena in the Bermuda Triangle that continues to haunt us, even in the pre-dawn of the 21st century.
Columbus also recorded that the island natives, like the Caribs and the Arawaks of Puerto Rico, were long familiar with strange occurrences in this part of the world. Their legends contain many stories of sky gods and green fireboats that could fly in the sky or under the water.
I myself have only had one experience on the Devil's Triangle, and that was in the southeastern Bahamas when I saw, or thought I saw, a lighthouse that wasn't there. Aside from that, I have not experienced anything unusual, but I've known people who've seen what they referred to as UFOs, green glows coming out of the sky and crashing into the water and disappearing down into the depths. And they referred to them as UFOs, and I guess that's what they were, UFOs.
But as strange as these stories may be, they pale in comparison to the more terrifying aspects of the Bermuda Triangle. The history of strange disappearances, the list of ships reported lost, the stories of ghostly derelicts, and the accounts of aircraft seemingly snatched from the skies is staggering. And virtually every lost vessel represents an appalling loss of life. One of the most famous lost aircraft cases is that of Flight 19, 5 aircraft that vanished together shortly after World War II. It is also the story that many believe gives us the first clue linking the Bermuda Triangle to UFOs.
It began routinely enough on December 5th, 1945. An advanced training flight was scheduled for takeoff at 1400 hours. 5 pilots and 10 crew members were scheduled to go up. Ironically, their course was to be a simple triangle with an expected flight time of 2 hours. The flight leader was Lieutenant Charles Taylor, an experienced combat pilot with over 2,500 hours of flying time. Flight 19 had completed the first leg of the flight plan and turned north. Suddenly, all of the aircraft began experiencing problems with their instruments.
This is Foxtrot 28, calling Foxtrot 36. My instruments have gone crazy.
My instruments are malfunctioning too. Where are we?
Some 40 miles away, Lieutenant Robert Cox, a training instructor, picked up their transmissions, but for some reason they couldn't hear him. Cox called the base station in Fort Lauderdale, which had lost contact with Flight 19, and immediately emergency procedures went into effect. Base operations continued to receive Lieutenant Cox's transmissions, which told them Flight 19 was lost and disoriented, but they could not get through to Taylor or any of his pilots. Ham radio operators up and down the coast were also tuned into the lost flight and monitored their frequency. Then, as night fell, one of them caught the last words to ever be heard from Flight 19.
Don't come after us! They look like...
What could Lieutenant Taylor have seen that caused him to insist that no one try to rescue Flight 19? Meanwhile, according to Berlitz, a huge search and rescue mission had already been launched. But then the first plane to respond to the emergency, a giant Martin Mariner with a crew of 13, disappeared from radar.
In the end, Flight 19 and the Martin Mariner, 28 men in all, disappeared without a trace, as if they had passed through some window into another dimension.
According to Berlitz, the Naval Board of Inquiry attributed the disappearances to malfunctioning navigational equipment that caused the planes to run out of fuel far out at sea. But is it really possible for this to have happened to all 6 planes simultaneously? Berlitz goes on to say that one member of the Board of Inquiry was quoted as saying Flight 19 had vanished as completely as if they had flown to Mars. Could that remark, in fact, be very close to the truth?
In the southernmost corner of the Bermuda Triangle, there are many who would have no trouble believing that at all. Some experts think that the Bermuda Triangle is simply the region of choice for visitors to our planet. Could this activity be the cause of all the vanishings? Few people would deny that many strange and unexplainable events have transpired in the Bermuda Triangle. But is there evidence to support the stories of UFO activity? UFO activity different from that observed in any other part of the world?
Puerto Rico is a continual hotspot for UFO activity, and it has been for years. UFOs being seen and photographed going in and out of the water just off the coast of Puerto Rico. Intense activity near a U.S. naval base there called Roosevelt Roads. And the Navy, of course, is very mum about this sort of thing. They don't say very much about it, but it's continuous. For example, there is a beautiful mountain in Puerto Rico in the middle of a tropical rainforest called El Yunque. For some interesting reason, it has continually been a spot of intense UFO activity. And when I was there with an investigator friend of mine, who I highly regard and highly respect, we went up on top of El Yunque. This place is swarming with Walking Hut security. Now, it's interesting to your viewers, I think, to note that Walking Hut Security is also the organization that provides the security at Groom Lake, Site 51, Dreamland, near Nellis Air Force Base in Nevada. Why are they all over El Yunque in Puerto Rico?
Could reports of UFO abductions in Puerto Rico be somehow related to other disappearances elsewhere in the Bermuda Triangle?
Sightings of UFOs are quite common in the Bermuda Triangle, as well as reports of persons kidnapped by alien beings. There have also been numerous accounts about disc-shaped UFOs under the water in the same way as they perform in the air.
Richard Weiner, author of The Devil's Triangle, relates a case that seems to corroborate these reports of underwater UFO sightings. He tells of a charter boat operator named John Carpenter and of his remarkable experience in the Bermuda Triangle. Carpenter apparently saw 2 UFOs exploring the water with some sort of projecting energy beam. Carpenter then saw exactly what so many others had reported seeing.
Carpenter's experience would seem to confirm that whatever is going on in the Bermuda Triangle goes through the water or through the air with equal ease.
Is the beam that Carpenter saw coming down from the UFOs a clue linking these craft to the disappearances in the Bermuda Triangle?
Perhaps these incidents are taking place in the Bermuda Triangle in such numbers because they are close to home. Many theorists believe that alien entities have been visiting Earth for thousands of years. Some even believe they may have found a culture here that was far in advance of those elsewhere on Earth. According to the ancient story, all of Atlantis went to the bottom of the sea after some natural catastrophe 12,000 years ago. Perhaps this was the Atlantis that has become a legend, believed to be nothing more than a myth.
Are aliens, or the descendants of aliens, watching us from the deepest part of the Atlantic, studying us, and occasionally collecting specimens for study?
I think abductees, some of them may have indeed been taken to some underground facilities. That's not to say that that is a fact. Abductees have been taken to places that they have assumed were underground facilities. Abductees have also reported that they have seen what appeared to be U.S. military people involved in their abduction. Now, that may not be the case. It may be the case that some of those involved in the abduction are some of those aliens that look exactly like we do, who are trying to give the impression that our military are involved.
It isn't just beams of light or beams of energy that punctuate the puzzle of the Bermuda Triangle. There is also some sort of fog or mist, and it seems to have a variety of peculiar effects on ships and planes. Einstein said the Bermuda Triangle could be a cosmic doorway leading to a different time and space continuum. Do UFOs have the key to that door?
We're dealing with something which is interdimensional. We're probably dealing with something which has been around for a very long time, not just since 1947. The UFO phenomenon is something highly complex and is composed of many, many different aspects.
Well, you have to ask the question, are they from another planet? We don't know the answer to that. A lot of people believe they're extraterrestrial. A lot of other people believe that they are from other dimensions, parallel universes, time travelers, that they're us at 2 million years in the future, maybe separated from our reality by some thin psychic membrane.
Has anyone gone through that doorway and returned to tell us about it?
According to UFO experts, a rapidly growing body of evidence indicates that, incredible as it may seem, thousands of people have been taken forcibly aboard alien craft. These astounding incidents seem to have all the characteristics of many stories of disappearances in the Bermuda Triangle.
UFOs have often been seen in the area by many witnesses, and a beam of intense energy has figured prominently. But other witnesses tell of a greenish glow or mist.
Charles Berlitz has recorded for us the case of Chuck Wakely, who was piloting for Sunline Aviation in Miami. Wakely had completed a charter run to Nassau and was headed back to Miami. According to him, the sky was perfectly clear. Suddenly, he was surrounded by an intense greenish light, so powerful, in fact, that he could no longer see outside of the plane. Wakely said his instruments then began to malfunction badly. Soon, there was little he could do but release the controls and let the plane fly itself. Then, according to Wakely, the glow just as suddenly faded and everything returned to normal. So if disappearances in the Bermuda Triangle are part of the UFO abduction phenomenon, have there ever been missing time episodes there? Take, for example, the case of National Airlines Flight 401.
The Miami Tower was called for a time check. The instrument panel clock was right on. They were 20 minutes out and right on schedule. Later, the co-pilot would remember seeing a strange green mist that enveloped the aircraft, but otherwise everything was completely normal.
Never seen anything like
But in the Miami Tower, the air traffic controller was jolted when the blip of the approaching Flight 727 suddenly vanished from the radar screen.
I've just lost Flight 727.
The controller immediately went into emergency priority status. Within minutes, the Coast Guard Search and Rescue Squadron was in action, and the Miami airport prepared for the worst.
I think my watch is broken.
When the flight attendant checked for any last-minute instructions, she couldn't believe she had completed her usual 10 to 12-minute cabin duties in less than 3 minutes. And the co-pilot was surprised to discover the greenish mist that enveloped the aircraft since the time check was gone, not only from about the aircraft, but from the sky itself. Precisely 10 minutes from the time Flight 727 had vanished from the radar screen, it just as suddenly and mysteriously reappeared. The complex equipment was in perfect working order, as the ongoing computer and manual scans verified. Flight 727 landed without incident, with the crew understandably curious about the emergency equipment along the runway. And they were all incredulous when told that their arrival was 10 minutes late, despite the fact that the instrument panel clock synchronized exactly with the earlier tower time check. It was now, along with every one of the crew's watches, 10 minutes slow.
And what of that green fog? Could it somehow identify the doorway into another time? Captain Don Henry tells us of his terrifying encounter.
We were coming back from Puerto Rico on the good news, with a tow of 2,500 ton on 1,000 feet of 4-inch hawser. Beautiful weather. You wouldn't want for a nicer day anywhere. I was enjoying some downtime in my cabin when the electric started acting up. We checked the whole system. Generators, breakers, shunts, just fine. Nothing wrong below. But topside, there weren't anything right. There was a funny-looking fog, I guess you'd call it, kind of oozing all over the barge. I figured I'd better take another good look inside. And that's just about when that blow smacked into us. "25 years at sea, I never saw the likes of that squall. It come out of nowhere. All our instruments were going crazy. Compass, radio, radar, engine monitors, absolutely berserk. At first, we was just worried about losing the tow. But then we started getting worried about our own skins. We were redlined at 850. Big twin 2,000 horse EMV diesels churning up green water, and we couldn't make a foot of headway. Something had a hold of us and wouldn't let go. Then just like that, the squall was over. We set the automatic pilot to go check damage, and we hadn't lost no rigging or deck gear. But then what I saw gave me goosebumps all over. A half-ton of hawsers stiff-stretched after the fantail, and not a thing connected to the bitter end. When we got her hauled in, you could see there wasn't no eye splice, and the line wasn't raggedy like it had parted. No, sir. Looked like it had been whacked off with a fire axe, and there was a bone-aching chill in the air. Yet the rails and fittings were hot enough to give you a smart burn. We had a narrow escape from whatever took hold of us out there.
A half-ton of tow rope stretched out to nothing, and the barge was simply gone. Could aliens actually be controlling events in this part of the world? An outrageous-sounding theory, perhaps, but is there evidence to suggest that that is exactly what has been happening in the Bermuda Triangle? Have entire ships and planes been captured by UFOs? But could there be a simpler, more logical explanation? Can natural occurrences account for the vanishings? Or is there an even more terrifying explanation for the mysteries of the Bermuda Triangle? In seeking an explanation for the mysteries of the Bermuda Triangle, evidence presents itself that seems to indicate that the real culprits are invaders from another world. But is this the only possible explanation?
The blue holes in the ocean apparently have the quality of swallowing things that fall into them more quickly than other parts of the sea. It is a curious fact that no debris has been found from the ships or planes which have disappeared in the triangle. It has even been suggested that for some reason it has been important to take ships and planes intact to somewhere else.
About once a year, some salvage crew will claim they found one of the missing TBM Avenger torpedo bombers. The most recent one took place right off Fort Lauderdale a few years back. They said they found 3 or 4 planes together on the bottom, and that sounded really like they had found the missing Flight 19. But doing a little research, I found out that after the war, they had a lot of planes or TBMs at the Fort Lauderdale Naval Air Station that they had cannibalized parts off of for other planes. And they couldn't fly those planes out, so to get rid of them, and they were surplus and of no use to the Navy anymore, they loaded them on barges at Port Everglades, took them out to sea, and shoved them overboard. And my theory is that's what the 3 or 4 planes they found off Fort Lauderdale were.
Are entire ships and planes being captured by vessels from another planet? And if so, why would this happen in only one part of the world?
The strange goings-on in the Devil's Triangle are not exclusive to the Devil's Triangle. There's also an area off of the east coast of Japan called the Devil's Sea. If you went in the center of the Devil's Triangle and you bored a hole through the center of the Earth, you would come out in the center of the Devil's Sea. And the Devil's Sea and the Devil's Triangle are the only 2 places on Earth where the compass points to the true north, not the magnetic north.
Could this really be the solution to the centuries-old mystery of the Bermuda Triangle? And if so, does it indicate the final fate of those who have disappeared there?
It's a little bit unsettling that we don't know this yet. We should know it by now, but this is such a clandestine phenomenon that we have been unable to come to a firm agreement about what the concluding aspects of this abduction phenomenon is. However, we are on the verge of that. We're right now in information overload. Right now we know tremendous amounts about this subject, and we are closing in on the ultimate purposes. And I think within the next few years we are going to completely solve this phenomenon, and we are going to know what the entire UFO phenomenon is all about.
Thousands of people are missing without any explanation. That is, no earthly one.
Perhaps we will someday know if alien visitors are indeed the culprits behind the disappearances and the missing time episodes in this most remarkable corner of our world's oceans. But until then, the terrifying phenomenon of the Bermuda Triangle remains another unexplained mystery in the pages of UFO Diaries.
What is it that lies beyond this fence that the U.S. government would kill to keep secret? Is there a base hidden away in the desert waste of Nevada where the government actually flies captured UFOs? Do Russian satellite photos reveal the amazing truth our own government won't let us see? Can this man's remarkable story really be true? Did he work on alien spacecraft and help to make them fly again? Could the U.S. government actually be working with alien beings in a super-secret desert complex known only as Area 51? We'll attempt to penetrate the wall of secrecy in this chapter of the UFO Diary.
One of the most intriguing mysteries in the field of modern UFO research can be found not in the sky or in outer space, but in the Nevada desert, in a region identified on the maps only as Area 51. There, in the vicinity of the dry bed of Groom Lake, this complex reportedly operates day and night, seen by countless witnesses and photographed time and again. And if the rumors about it are true, this installation is the hiding place of one of the most amazing secret projects of this or any other century. And clearly there are secrets of some kind in this mysterious complex, because according to official government maps of the region, the entire installation simply does not exist. Why is this desert base such a secret? Is the truth about its purpose related to the continual sightings in the area of UFOs?
After the Lazar story broke, the UFO watchers came here and discovered this land. They came here in four-wheel drives to overlook this secret base.
In a recent interview, Robert Lazar claimed he was employed between 1988 and 1989 as a research specialist at a hidden base even more secret than the Groom Lake installation.
When I went to work, I was flown from McCarran Airport in Las Vegas to Area 51, From Area 51, I was bused to an even more highly secure facility located about 15 miles south of Area 51 called S4. S4 is situated at the base of the Papoose Mountains by the Papoose Dry Lake bed. The S4 installation is built into the mountain and the 9 hangar doors are angled at about 60 degrees. These doors are covered with a sand-textured coating to blend in with the side of the mountain and the desert floor.
According to Bob Lazar, it was in this hidden base that he worked on disc-shaped flying craft that were based on technology given to mankind by beings from another planet.
Not only did I read briefings and not only was I taught the theories of these technologies, but they were demonstrated for me and I know they are true and accurate.
Lazar went on to claim that there are several fully working flying discs at the S4 facility, but only one on which he personally worked.
Because of its sleek appearance, I nicknamed it the Sport Model. The Sport Model is about 16 feet tall and 40 feet in diameter. The center level of this disc also houses the control consoles and seats, both of which were too small and too low to the floor to be functional for adult human beings.
If the story Lazar tells is true, then this design is no mere fantasy, but a reality, and proof positive that Earth has been visited by intelligent beings from another planet. Could the U.S. government actually have one or more UFOs in their possession and kept such a secret from the public and the press for almost 50 years? And if the story has already been told, why is the government still taking such extraordinary measures to try and keep the base hidden? According to this research by the Salt Lake Tribune in September of 1993, Air Force Secretary Sheila Widnall requested control over nearly 4,000 acres of publicly owned land out in the Nevada desert in the Nellis Range Complex. Glenn Campbell has dedicated the last few years to breaking the wall of secrecy around Area 51 and the mysterious base at Groom Lake.
Area 51 is a small block of land that is simply the best known of the secret areas of the Nellis Air Force Range Complex. Behind that, we have vast areas of desert. Until the early 1980s, it was actually possible to drive up to the Groom Dry Lake bed and look across and see the base in the distance. It was a secret base, but an open secret. In the mid-1980s, the military seized an entire mountain range, the Groom Mountain Range, to keep Soviet spies from looking down on this base. At that point, the base became non-existent. It disappeared from USGS maps, and ever since then, the government has refused to refer to the base in any manner or form.
What could be on this installation that would merit such strong measures? Does anyone outside of the base really know what kind of work is being done there?
We should all remember that the U-2 spy plane was flying out of Area 51 for many years. The same is true of the Blackbird SR-71 and the stealth fighter. They were all flying for many years before we heard about them.
But will the government use deadly force to keep citizens from simply seeing airplanes take off and land?
It has, I'm told, surface-to-air missiles in case planes fly over that aren't welcome there.
We were pursued dangerously by this helicopter.
Another airplane will be scrambled to intercept him and force him out of the area, or he'll be shot down.
Can security measures be taken too far? And what happens when one side or the other crosses the line? Whatever may be happening at Area 51, it seems certain that the high security is not to keep people from wandering into some area where they could be hurt. It is designed specifically to protect whoever or whatever is inside the complex at Groom Lake.
What's going on here?
I'm sorry, the road's blocked. Let's move it on, please.
Isn't this public land?
Could you please move on?
They're prepared to use whatever force necessary to keep the people as far away as possible from this area.
Norio Hayakawa says he has witnessed firsthand the aggressive security measures at Area 51.
In 1991, I led an investigative group from Southern California, including some journalists, to this area. And after we witnessed what I believe was some type of a test flight or possibly a maneuvering of these objects, I was leading a caravan of 7 cars on this dirt road. Suddenly, a black military helicopter with no insignia came over and approached our cars, came in front of our cars, almost about 10 to 15 feet above our cars.
But if Norio Hayakawa and other curiosity seekers trespassed on military property, could they not have expected to be confronted, even arrested?
At no time were we trespassing the military area. We were well away from the military zone, and we were on public land. We had every right to be on public land, but yet we were harassed by this military helicopter dangerously.
If this is true, if the military will even pursue civilians on public lands 10 miles away from the installation, haven't they overlooked the fact that this secret base is still easily visible from the air? Would it not be a simple matter to fly low over the complex and see exactly what kind of work is being done there? Retired Air Force Colonel Wendell Stevens doesn't think so.
The airspace over the Nellis Range is highly restricted.
Even military pilots on exercise here are forbidden to overfly this zone.
If a pilot happens to stray into one of these restricted areas,
it could mean the end of their career.
If he continues to fly in this restricted area, he'll be ordered to leave immediately and will be given vectors to leave the area by the shortest route. If he doesn't respond, another airplane will be scrambled to intercept him and force him out of the area.
If you as a civilian pilot were to fly into Groom Lake, certainly you can lose your pilot's license.
Or you'll be shot down.
For 40 years, it has been the location of choice for testing black projects. The most secret projects in the world that our military is looking into, that's where they go. I mean, it's perfect for that. It's ringed by mountains. It's in the middle of nowhere. It has, I'm told, surface-to-air missiles in case planes fly over that aren't welcome there. It has motion detectors in the ground. It has ammonia detectors that can sense the smell of ammonia in human skin. It has surveillance cameras to see who's looking down on the base, so it is an extremely secure location.
Of course, these kinds of security measures have been taken in the past around top-secret military installations.
Could it be the next generation of high-tech weaponry is currently being tested? Particle beams, high-powered lasers, or space weapons? Or could it be something else entirely?
Many of us have devoted a lot of time and energy to research on what's going on at Area 51, but no question in my mind that a new type of technology is being developed. We have seen aircraft over there at Area 51 above the Groom Mountains that definitely resemble what's known as flying discs or flying saucers.
In the UFO research field, a growing number of experts are making claims that secret government projects at the Groom Lake facility are somehow related to technology brought here from another planet. Now, whether or not this incredible-sounding claim is true, one thing seems very certain. Witnesses have seen some kind of aircraft at Groom Lake that appears to be nothing made by human designers.
Have people actually seen UFOs around Area 51? What about photographs, videotapes, or film of these objects? Hundreds of UFO watchers regularly drive out into the Nevada desert, across public land, and make their way up to the top of Whiteside Mountain or Freedom Ridge to try and catch a glimpse of what they believe to be a captured vehicle from another world.
In one of our expeditions to Area 51, one of our members succeeded in taking rather remarkable footage of what appears to be a disc-shaped object over Groom Lake itself. It didn't behave like any conventional aircraft I've ever seen, no sound whatsoever. But the remarkable thing is that in other occasions we have seen the zigzag maneuvering of this type of aircraft, sometimes almost a 75-degree turn and sudden descension and ascension.
Could this really be a vehicle from another planet that fell into human hands?
A consistent story that comes up from a lot of workers is that a craft was brought here around 1953, and that actual live aliens were brought here about that same time.
Well, the Russians have been taking pictures of Area 51 for many years. Stalin had an intense interest in UFOs, and one of the things he wanted to know about was Roswell. And the conclusion they came up with was something really did crash there, that it wasn't a weather balloon, and it wasn't anything of earthly origin. They didn't know exactly where it came from, but they knew it wasn't ours and it wasn't theirs, and this was something that was of monumental importance that needed to be studied.
Of course, these claims are still nothing more than hearsay and rumor, without more evidence to support them. Does such proof exist?
All the stories that float around this place are as much a mystery to workers as they are to us.
Where exactly did these stories of captured UFOs at Area 51 originate?
The folks who run Area 51 won't admit that it exists. There was a federal lawsuit that was just tossed out a few days ago in which they just wanted to know the name of the base, and they fought it tooth and nail and now don't have to reveal the name of it.
If you work in a secret area like this, you come to work on jets from Las Vegas with the window shades down. Upon arrival at Groom Lake, you are bussed in buses with blacked out windows directly to your workplace. You see nothing more than the hangar or the few buildings that you happen to work in.
That's the interesting dichotomy. The Russians can fly over it and take pictures, but we, the people who foot the bills for the place, aren't supposed to know about it.
In 1988, a Russian satellite took a remarkable photograph over Area 51. Notice the object highlighted at the end of the runway. It's positioned at the same position as if it were about to take off.
As unusual as the object in the photograph may be, it is hardly proof of a captured alien technology. Where is the real proof of these astounding claims?
Bob Lazar paints a scenario where the craft has an anti-gravity reactor or a gravity reactor that produces a wave of gravity to counteract Earth's. If you're inside this craft, it has no seat belts because to you inside the craft, it is always upright at natural gravity.
Could it be that the mysterious craft seen over Area 51 were not recovered at UFO crash sites? Is it possible that our government has been working secretly with an alien civilization? Are we on friendly terms with beings from another planetary system? If true, Robert Lazar's claim that he worked on a full-scale flying version of this craft could well be the most important news story of the century. But what about the story behind this supposedly alien technology? How did it come to be in human hands? According to Lazar, during his stay at Area 51 and S4, he was given information which, if true, would constitute undeniable evidence of intelligent life on other planets. In Lazar's video interview, he claims that while at the super-secret S4 facility, he was shown official briefing documents stating that the beings who gave us the secrets of the flying saucer came from the Zeta Reticuli system, 35 light-years from Earth.
The beings are 3 to 4 feet tall and weigh 25 to 50 pounds. They have grayish skin and large heads with almond-shaped wraparound eyes. These beings said that they had been visiting Earth for a long time and presented photographic evidence which they contended was over 10,000 years old. There was an exchange of hardware and information in Central Nevada until 1979, at which time there was a conflict which brought the program to an abrupt halt.
Despite this supposed rift between humans and aliens, the beings from Zeta Reticuli allegedly left behind enough material for the scientists at S4 to piece together much of the technology for making a flying saucer fly. And presumably, it is that same flying saucer technology that is being routinely tested at Area 51. Is this the secret the military is so eager to protect at Area 51? Perhaps the tight security around the testing site is well warranted, because according to Lazar, this alien technology represents a force many times greater than our most powerful atomic bomb. Lazar says he witnessed the operation of the ship's power source and that it made use of the enormous energy made possible by antimatter. And according to Lazar, one matter-antimatter weapon could easily destroy all of human civilization. Lazar also claims that using this energy as a power source makes the craft impossible to detect.
The disk can't be seen from any vantage point, and for all practical purposes is invisible. All you could see would be the sky surrounding it.
Assuming for a moment that all of this is true, what exact purpose could the military have in mind for this new technology? Norio Hayakawa says he believes these new advances will not be used for the common good of all humankind.
You can rest assured that this technology, one way or the other, is going to be used for some type of military activity. This could be used for a large-scale, unprecedented type of war we have ever seen.
According to Hayakawa, the secret installations at Area 51 and S4 are not the only places our government is experimenting with super advanced technology.
These are photos of a secret California facility conducted by Lockheed Corporation. There are several secret air bases in Southern California where they are testing the parts to build some of these this craft objects. And the strange thing about these facilities is that you don't see any aircraft on the runway, no aircraft whatsoever. When this facility was under construction, people near the area have seen rows and rows of cement trucks almost 24 hours a day for several weeks at a time, indicating that a large underground complex was being constructed.
I was fortunate enough to interview people who constructed the underground facility at Area 51. There's research laboratories and things like that under the desert floor, and then the surface was restored to look like it did before.
According to Hayakawa, the security around this facility is as strict as that surrounding Area 51, and the sheer size of both facilities is truly staggering. Even if some secret project of gigantic proportions really is going underground in California and Nevada, does that mean the technology is being developed for hostile purposes?
To be honest with you, I would not be surprised that some abductees are taken to some U.S. underground facilities. And if that is indeed the case, there again, we're dealing with a criminal case here that involves total violation of our constitutional system.
Can these stories actually be true? Have UFO abductees been brought by force to Area 51? Is there any evidence to support these frightening claims? In Robert Lazar's video, he claims that the S4 facility near Area 51 is hidden inside a mountain in southern Nevada with 9 giant hangar doors textured to blend in with the surroundings. Incredibly, this matches the description given by some people who claim to have been kidnapped by the occupants of a UFO and then taken to a mysterious underground facility.
Abductees have been taken to places that they have assumed were underground facilities. Abductees have also reported that they have seen what appeared to be U.S. military people involved in their abduction.
And yet, there are also those who believe that the military is developing this technology for the protection of the human race from an alien invasion.
I don't think the government or the military believes that we face a major threat from anybody on this planet. That our greatest threat literally comes from someplace out of this world.
Others believe the government is only interested in protecting itself.
They started infiltrating UFO organizations. They spied on UFO researchers. They put out false information to muddy the waters. They actively encouraged this laughter curtain, a policy of ridicule that anyone who sees a UFO is crazy. Well, anyone who sees a UFO is not crazy. That's just the prism through which we view this now. The government's done a very good job of disinformation, of clouding the whole issue.
Because of Russian satellite photos and other satellite photos of this area, we have absolutely no reason to doubt anymore that this facility exists.
It's an underground military presence that is vast. Friends of mine who've been in it have said that it's literally a 40-story building buried underground.
For whatever reason, the military continues its effort to gain control over the only 2 visual access areas to Groom Lake. The public demand for an explanation to the mystery of Area 51 is growing every day.
If UFOs are real, the government has perhaps a legitimate interest in avoiding panic and making sure that society does not overreact to this situation. Purportedly, UFOs have been known to the government since the 40s and 50s. During that time, there was a lot of hysteria about communism, about world affairs. If you were to introduce UFOs at that time, perhaps there would be mass hysteria. Perhaps there would be a shaking of the foundations of our society.
So much of what has been said about Area 51 and secret installations is, after all, little more than hearsay. Is there any real proof? Any indisputable evidence that alien technology is being tested and used at Area 51?
Could it be that locked deep beneath the desert floor, there is an alien spacecraft? Is it possible that behind the tightest ring of security in our history, there actually exists proof positive of life on other worlds? And if that proof is there, it brings up another, even more profound question. Would the world be better off if that startling disclosure were reserved for some future chapter of UFO Diary?